tired of being on a roller coaster of emotions? You've manifested a few cool things, you've seen enough to believe in it, you feel like you're really getting it now, but then one day life throws you a curveball, and now you're starting to feel that fear and anxiety creeping in, you feel yourself starting to spiral, and everything feels impossible again? You're not alone. Every manifestor goes through this at some point in their journey. Hi, I'm Liana, and I help people manifest their dream life. In this video, we're going to dive into some techniques and strategies that can pull you out of this slump and reclaim your peace of mind. So let's get started. Tip number 1 is to stop jumping to worst case scenarios. Stop entertaining thoughts of negative what ifs. So we're told in our cause and effect 3D culture that it's responsible and the adult thing to do to plan for the worst case scenario. It's the mature thing to do, we're told. We always have to be prepared. That's the smartest way forward. But when you know the law and you really understand it, now you know that when you think of the worst case scenario, you're literally focusing on, you're feeling that worst case scenario, you're visualizing it in your head, you're having the inner conversations of, okay, what would I do if this happened? Or this is how it would pan out in your head. You're having the mental diet for what you don't want. So you're essentially manifesting for exactly what you don't want to happen. And you're manifesting it perfectly with visuals, thoughts, feelings, assumptions or beliefs, expectation. And again, I'm not blaming you because this is what society tells us we should do as responsible, mature people. But now that you've manifested a few things and you've seen for yourself that thoughts, beliefs, and feelings and visualizing has an impact on your reality, you can't rationally do this anymore. If you're manifesting the ideal outcome while also simultaneously essentially manifesting the worst outcome, then you're working against yourself and it's a waste of your time. So the next time that you catch yourself imagining a negative what if or the worst case scenario, drop that thought entirely and then instead think to yourself, okay, what if the best case scenario happened? Like, what if I were to achieve my desire beyond my wildest dreams? Or start thinking about positive what ifs, like, oh, what if this awesome thing happened? Or what if I got promoted out of nowhere? What if my SP just suddenly starts paying more attention to me? Growing up, we're not taught to do these things. Growing up, we're taught that to entertain positive what ifs or wild stories of success is out of touch, or it's like fantastical daydreaming. Some would say that you have your head in the clouds. So as kids, we're told not to do that. And as adults, we're definitely told not to do that. And if people knew that you were doing that, you'd be told that you're a dreamer or that you're delusional. But when you understand the basics of manifesting, you'll understand that this is the way to go. This is what you should be doing. The good news is if you haven't been doing this and your 3D isn't looking the way you want to, then when you start doing this, and if you persist in doing this, then your reality has to start changing for the better. Tip number 2 is to reframe how you think about it. And I'll walk you through what I mean. So if the law really is true and your 3D is not looking great, there's only one of two things that could have happened. A, your mental diet, your thoughts, your assumptions, your beliefs, and your expectations were not as perfect as you thought they were. Meaning you were unintentionally dwelling in negative feelings or negative thoughts or negative assumptions, and that's how this undesirable 3D manifested. So that's situation A. Or situation B, you've actually been doing everything wonderfully, but the undesirable 3D that you saw is what I like to call an ugly bridge of incidents to your desire. So it is working, but your path to your desire, the physical events that have to happen in your 3D to get you what you want, initially look really bad. And I've seen this countless times. For example, people will be manifesting a better job, and then all of a sudden they get fired, and they're like, how can this possibly be? I was fully in a state of having a better job where my coworkers and my bosses respected me and I liked them and I got paid more and I was doing what I loved. How did I get fired from my crappy job? Well, a week later, they often end up getting an offer out of nowhere. Maybe they were in the grocery store during their regular work hours and they bump into someone they know and then they get a job offer for something amazing. That wouldn't have happened if they were still at their job because they'd be in the office. So in both of these cases, the only way forward is to continue persisting and trying to make sure as many of your thoughts are positive and in alignment with what you want. So you need to make sure that your visuals, your mental diet, and your feelings are what you would think, feel, and expect if you were the person that already had your desire. So to break this down again, Basically, if you're on your ugly bridge of incidents to something amazing, the only way forward is to persist. And the other possibility is, if you thought you were doing well, but your mental diet and your feelings were actually really crappy, and you unintentionally manifested this curveball in your 3D, then again, the only way forward is to keep trying your best to return to a state of the wish fulfilled, to visualize good things, to catch yourself worrying, to drop negative what ifs, to drop negative lines of thinking, to stop yourself from thinking negative what ifs, and to continue practicing catching yourself dwelling in negative feeling. One technique I find really comforting to do this is asking myself honestly, how was my mental diet, my assumptions, and my feelings in the last few weeks or months? Can I really say that I didn't have any negative thoughts or expectations? Can I really say that I wasn't entertaining any negative feelings? And this requires self-honesty. You don't have to tell anyone about it, but you need to be honest with yourself in your head when you think about this. So I usually ask myself, have I been sarcastic or pissy about it? Have I been complaining to my friends about something I don't like? Because when you do that, you are visualizing, feeling, and concentrating on those negative feelings, those undesirable outcomes. Have I been having arguments in my head that I shouldn't be having? Have I been blaming others, etc.? Whenever something bad happens and I ask myself all these questions, the answer is always yes. I am the culprit. I do have a fault in how this turned out. I am responsible. Now, I don't say this to beat you up. I say this to give you hope, because when you hear this, you should be like, oh, okay, so that negative thing in the 3D didn't happen out of nowhere. Things are not out of my control. I don't just have bad luck. I have been doing things and unintentionally manifesting what I don't want. It's kind of like when an appliance isn't working and you find out it's unplugged. Like, okay, good. You may feel a little dumb, but the good news is the thing isn't broken. Like, there is a way to fix it, and it's by plugging it in. In this situation, the way to fix it is to take stock of what you've been doing, and now that you're aware of it, it's so much easier going forward to catch yourself doing it and to stop. My next tip is to remind yourself that things can often get worse before they get better. So our 3D has a built-in time delay. Yes, your thoughts manifest and create your reality, but not always immediately. It depends on the intensity and the frequency and how often you return to that state. So what you're seeing now, the negative 3D that you don't want, could be the result of past feelings and visualizations and spiraling. So the undesirable 3D that you're seeing now could be the result of your past mental actions, your past feelings, your old assumptions that you may have already started to change, your old ways of thinking, or like your ancient horrible mental diet. So even if you start improving your mental diet, you won't see that change immediately. It's like turning around a cruise ship. It takes a really long time. You are making progress, but you might not see it immediately. But as you get better and better, and as your better mental state becomes your default, the results will start coming faster and faster. And I know you've heard it a million times before, Neville says to persist because of this reason. Because if you were to slowly turn a cruise ship and you're like, well, I'm not making a U-turn yet, and you turn it back the other way, then you're not going to get to where you want. You have to keep persisting. Just wait a little while. If you truly have made your better mental diet your new default, then it should be effortless. Remember, you want to enter that feeling of Sabbath where you feel satisfied, where you feel like, okay, this is my default dwelling state. This is like my new normal going forward, where you feel satisfied. You don't feel like you have to visualize anymore. You don't feel like you have to put yourself in that new state anymore, because that is your state. Always. It's just your default mode of operating, thinking, and feeling. Kind of like you have a phone now, so you don't really feel like visualizing for the same phone you have. You don't feel like you don't have a phone. You don't feel that lack. Instead, you're like, yeah, of course I have a phone. Of course I have a computer. Of course I have a sister. These are not things you're excited for anymore because you're fully in a state of having them. Now, when you can be in that state of having them, it's effortless to continue being in that state. And when you persist in that for not that long, but long enough, then your desire will come. And various source teachers say different things. Neville has said 3 days, but he's also said that this is not literal, it's figurative. He used the example of like a horse pregnancy takes over a year to come, but it is coming. Some other source teachers have said that if you're really in a state, in less than 30 days, your 3D will start to reflect. But regardless, your job is not to check. Your job is to put your emotional state and your thoughts where they should be, as if you were the person who has what they want already. And my last tip is do things to get your mind off of it. Do things that you know you love that'll have you feeling the way you want to feel. Whether it's happy or free or appreciated, hang out with your friends. Pick your favorite hobby. Draw yourself a bath. If you like taking walks in nature with your dog, go for it. Do what you find fun. Do what energizes you and makes you feel hopeful and energized. What I like to do is read source material. So that means reading Neville Goddard, reading Jane Roberts, reading Florence Scovel Shinn, Joseph Murphy, whoever's your favorite. I find that when I read those, I feel really empowered. It makes my worries melt away. If reading's too hard, just find an audiobook on YouTube and listen to it while you're doing something fun, like playing a video game or something. If your state of mind and your thoughts and your feelings produce your reality, then it makes sense that you want to do things that you enjoy that make you feel empowered. Because feeling a state produces that state, and feeling is a secret. If you keep doing things that make you feel like poop, you're gonna manifest feeling more like poop. But if you occupy your time with things that make you feel good, then some of the time you're manifesting and in a state of having what you want, that's manifesting what you want. But the other time you're doing things that make you feel good, that'll also help you manifest what you want. Basically, you're not spending your time doing things working against your own manifestation. And various source teachers have said that when you're in the state of joy, and you're just spontaneously living your life, that is when your manifestation really starts to accelerate, because you're not working against yourself, you're letting your creative energies flow freely, and this is your natural state of being as a divine part of all that is. Essentially, you want to, as Neville says, live in the end of having what you want already. Now, if like many others, you don't know exactly what Neville means when he says that, I made a video here breaking down exactly how to live in the end with practical tips and examples. Otherwise, you can watch my most recent video here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.